Oh, hi there. I usually don't watch these kind of documentaries because they're heavily biased. But this one is called Final Asylum: The Closing of Philadelphia State Hospital, Part One, aka Byberry. Um, that hospital evidently got closed down in what was it? I guess the late 80s now. That was within my lifetime, um, and it was a truly horrible place. And I mean, you only get a snippet of what it's really like through documentaries, which is why I don't particularly enjoy watching them. I really ought to because it might shed some light on the insight of why psychiatrists and other bureaucrats look at um, mental health and asylums and long-term treatment plans and their mentality behind it. The problem is, as I said, it's heavily biased. Like I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest probably about 6 months ago, and I was with mental health for 8 years. Still am theoretically because I still have a bit of a sore throat. Um, and you go, well, what? Were you scared to take a look? And I went, no, because this was more or less the sort of bullshit I had to put up with anyway. Not quite like in that documentary, it was never that severe. And I'm not talking about myself, but also my treatment plan. Although they were highly aggressive against me, and it did not take much to offend them. It doesn't. Uh, if they want to be mad with you, it takes nothing at all. They can simply choose to be mad at you because you're a statistic. Um, and in this documentary, they whitewashed a lot of their crimes. They had to mention them. There was no way they could get out of it, but there were legal advocates that were and lawyers that were, pushing for change in the system. And every doctor that worked there, every bureaucrat that worked there was all covering their asses. So you best believe they were going up there and saying things that were completely whitewashed, and to go so far as to saying they weren't even true. That they were doing malignant things to their patients, and that it is a very fair question to say, well, who's the one who deserves to be there? Is it the patients or is it the doctors and the nurses that do the horrible things to the people? I mean, I've quite often said, well, who's got it worse, me for having to be here or you for having to live here? Because I spent very very little time in any psychiatric facility. In fact, I never was in one. I was in the hospital section, and that was it. That's as far as it ever went. Um, I know there are patients out there that obviously they need a very structured environment and they need better support, and it's not easy for them. And usually a lifetime of street drugs would do that to people, where they're gone. There's no going back for them. None of that ever happened to me, but I was put on the barbecue simply because they went, well, he looks like somebody who that could happen to, and we're here to help him to make sure that doesn't happen. If for no other reason, we could pad our own stats. And that's what it really felt like. Like I don't even know exactly the medications they were giving me. All I know is they caused intense pain, and then they tried to deny that they ever gave me any medication at all that caused pain, and that all this was an unhealthy diet, alcohol consumption, and various other things that they don't like, particularly sleep patterns, eating habits, as I said, and exercise. They really like to grill you on those and personal hygiene as well. All those things they'll use as an excuse to further intensify your treatment. but it's damn near impossible to keep a regular sleep schedule. In fact, it is impossible to keep a regular cycle when you're on any kind of psychiatric medication. It's just impossible. And then if you can't sleep properly, you're obviously not going to get the exercise you need. Hygiene may be a question for some people. It never was for me, really. I mean, my hair usually was short, and you do have to wash it. But I also have a beard. It's a bit, not as complete as I'd like it to be. But I keep it tidy and I keep it short. I brush my teeth most days. I won't say every day because with the sore throat, it kind of encourages you not to brush your teeth because you don't want to put any more, chemicals in your mouth like with the toothpaste. And plus, the jawline hurts, and it's just like you don't want to be putting anything in your mouth, which is another point I wanted to make up about eating habits. Um, the Abilify I'm taking now, which hopefully will get rid of the sore throat or, at least ease its passing. Because as I said before in other videos, it should take up to 3 years for this Invega to leave my system. 3 fucking years, man. I'm just getting into 24th month now, so I'm not looking forward to the next year in that regard. It should be better. Hopefully things don't, physically get worse for me. Uh, no doctor has said that it wouldn't, which is not comforting. And they always do that. They don't answer questions and they talk to you in a profoundly nutty manner. Like you can ask them a direct question and they will not answer it. And it's like I'm sitting here and they're sitting over there, and it's like you're not answering this question because you don't want to say anything. And what am I supposed to think about that? Because from my perspective, I'm not asking anything, that would contradict the treatment. I'm asking about the treatment plan and I'm not getting any answer at all. And it's just like, all right, I've gone to the twilight zone, where people are, in charge who figure it's better to say nothing to them, and maybe a brain like mine will just shrink and become less active, and nobody like, won't be able to figure out anything, won't be able to figure out how to open a Mars bar or make a sandwich for himself if this treatment continues indefinitely. I know that's what they're all about. Um, and in those psychiatric facilities, not that I ever went to one, but they take away your name and they give you like the shittiest clothing. And this is just to traumatize you, right? And when you come out, you get to see a little bit of color, and it's like, ooh, this is great, man. It's like having an Xbox or something. And it's like, no, it's not like that at all. They for a while they took what was yours and and punished you. That's all a mental health facility does to people is they punish people. That's all they do. And it's all they've ever done. And this documentary briefly talked about that, but didn't go into depth enough. And I don't mean just the obvious physical abuse. I mean just the whole therapeutic modality of how they approach patients. Because it starts off, you go in there, you're going to be abused. It doesn't matter if you know you are or you're not, or to what level you are. And in the end, they'd like you to be like, this is great. Num, 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 num. Oh no, I spilled a bit of my oatmeal on my chin. Oh no. Mm, oh, what's on the television? Oh, I'm sure Stephen Colbert's on there. He's good for a laugh now, especially now that he's taken over the late night show. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Yeah, in real reality, you're like, they've turned you into a fucking idiot. A fucking idiot. And their medication, it just fucking hurts. That's all it does. It really just makes you sick. And they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that, you think it's great and it's doing wonders for you. Well, guess what? I didn't have any physical pain or anything like that before I started taking your medication 8 years ago. So fuck you. Well, actually, it'd be more like 8.5 years ago now. Anyway, uh, yeah, that's their whole story is a bunch of bullshit, and they present it in such a way with the negative things that they said about this Philadelphia hospital that it makes it sound dated, right? So, like a stupid mental health patient might use this as an opportunity to talk about the treatment that they're receiving, if no matter how abusive it is, and the psychiatrist can easily dismiss it. They're like, "Oh, this is dated, blah 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 blah," and you'll be lucky if they even say that to you. And it's like, actually, there's some parts of that that aren't dated and are still relevant today. Same with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and even Shutter Island. They're presented in a profoundly strange way, but they're not. It's just they don't like talking about metaphors. They don't like talking about things where you can actually learn something about them and illustrate it. So they'll always try to dismiss it. And me creating this YouTube channel where psychiatrists watch it, it was a chance. I took a chance by doing that, but I think it was the right move because whatever they were accusing me of, because they're obviously that's what they do. They accuse everyone of everything. Oh, you got mental illness, you're bipolar, you're depressed, you're blah 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 blah. And it's like, I don't think I'm any of those things. I think you just made that up so you could continue giving me medication. That's my opinion. So anyway, this documentary, I'll write a link in the description. It's worth watching, but I typically don't watch these things because it's propaganda for mental health. Like, oh, they care, they're trying their best, blah blah. Fuck you, you ain't doing nothing, and you don't do nothing for cheap either. Like they like to say, oh, they're not paid very much. Yeah, the peons aren't paid very much, but the fucking psychiatrist makes out like a bandit. Anyway, gonna leave it at that, and I will talk to you people later. And if you are a psychiatrist, don't have a good one. Fuck off. Anyway, see you later.